Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Don't forget, if you like the video, click on like and subscribe and talk about it on chat lines or wherever it is your social media activities and help us to grow and help more people. I'll talk to you soon. Let's see what Sid says. Says, I just have a small question. Yeah, I'm aware of these. I'm aware of these small questions. Questions may be small, but the answers could be impossible. But let's see. It says, I have been super happy for the last month or so and do not think about much. And we get along well, like normal, and I'm happy. Great. So far, so good. It says, how can I sustain this level of happiness? Does it make sense what I'm writing? It's a small question, but it has a big answer, my friend. So, so you've been happy for a month, super happy. And your question is, how can I sustain this level of happiness? Hmm. Well, the problem in life in regards to happiness is not that we cannot find happiness. We can find happiness in every little thing, provided we have the blessings of being generally healthy and our families and loved one being healthy. Putting that aside and assuming that is fine and okay, we are capable of finding happiness in most everydays if we focus that happiness comes in small dosages and it resides in everything if we understand the meaning of life. So if you're expecting happiness to have a certain banner that, hey, you just stumbled on happiness, haha, the rest of the day it wasn't. But now this moment, because of this particular experience, that is called and considered happiness. No, happiness is there if you understand what you're looking at and connect it with the value and quality of your life. So you can find happiness that is a natural ability of every human being, should they have been trained to know how to find happiness, which is in every little blessings that we have. To begin with, I can breathe. God bless you. That's happiness. I have something to drink, some safe place to sleep, something to eat. These are all roots of happiness. Without these things that I just mentioned, it doesn't matter what else is there, how much money or whatever relationship, none of them is going to bring you happiness if the basics are not there. And you can find the basics that creates happiness for you in almost everything you do in life, provided that that prerequisite that I mentioned earlier is already there. So the problem in happiness is not finding it. What stops the happiness is when you want to sustain it. That's the problem. You want to sustain the happiness, but trying to focus on how to sustain the happiness is the main reason for you not to be happy. Suffering starts when you try to turn impermanent to permanent. As I mentioned before, you have a nice looking apple and you take it from the tree and take a bite. And you say, wow, what an apple. It's a joy feeling. Now, so far, so good. But the problem starts when you say, now I want to have this feeling and this delicious taste in my mouth every day. That becomes a problem now because you try to turn the impermanent, that's experience of biting an apple, into permanent. Now you got to find out, how can I be here every day? How can I have an apple tree? How would it be the same way? How can I get it without anybody says, hey, that's not your tree? All these other things becomes a stumbling block for the very thing that gave you that joy, that you simply disregarded it and focused on sustaining the joy rather than enjoying the joy at that moment. Now, coming a little bit closer to home and more philosophical, if you want to sustain the happiness beyond what we just discussed, The question would be, how could you guarantee that everybody would behave in certain same way that made you happy for a month for a duration of time? You're not in control of that. At that particular moment experiences, things were happening and people were behaving in a certain way towards you or towards life, and you were in an environment that could simply generate happiness. But how can you be in control of people's behavior and interaction with you in the same way that they did for a month that made you happy? Because that is expecting everyone to have to create the image you have created of them in your mind that makes you happy, that they would actually be the image you created of them in your mind versus being something else that you only found a fragment of who they are, and you created the whole persona out of them with that fragment that you got to know about them. So you created an image out of them using that small fragment of their existence, their characteristics. You're not in control of that, and you can't guarantee that you will continuously see the same angle of theirs, so you would create the same image you created of them during the past month, because they always behaved in the same way. They're human beings. They will have different effects in their consciousness, and they would react differently according to different ingredients that is introduced to their consciousness, the environment, the happenings. So maybe some of the reactions would not be in line with the first increments of that what you saw from them, which pleased you. And on that basis, you created an image of them in your mind about them. Now you see different angles. You won't be able to see that continuity of their behavior and reactions towards events of life as you did maybe yesterday. What are you going to do then? You're going to create a different image in your mind about them based on their new behavior, based on the new situation that they're facing. So, what happened to that person that you really liked yesterday? No longer exists. You have created a new image based on this behavior of them. So, what I'm trying to say is that you cannot guarantee that people would always present to you the side of them that you prefer and use to create that beautiful image that you became infatuated or happy with them. If a girl pays attention to me, I don't know if she's paying attention to me or she's paying attention or infatuated or expresses that emotion, kind emotion that she's expressing to me. Is it to me or is it to the image she has made out of me in her own mind? Maybe she would not like me when she gets to know me. Am I going to question that? Am I going to stop any possibilities just because I don't know if she knows me well, and I don't know what kind of image she has made out of me in her own mind by a fragment of my behavior that she has seen, and now I'm supposed to live up to her expectations, to the image she has made out of me in her own mind? I don't know what that image is. All I can say is, like me when you know me. Because if you tell me you like me, but you don't know me yet, then I may want to sustain that you liking me the way you say you do now, not knowing what you know about me. So you should stop expecting that all these things that made you happy is an absolute. This is a relative world. Their idea about you may change, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're a bad or good person because of their idea. It just means that it can change based on the image they make out of you, based on the reactions, interactions you have with life on a daily basis. At that particular time, day, moment, month, your reactions, their reactions create a certain image that made them to behave in a certain way that made you happy. But you cannot guarantee that they would always react towards you in the same way, because you're not reacting in the same way in light of everything that happens in life. You will judge it. You will have different sides and different remedies and different behavior and angles. And those behavior and angles and decisions may not be in line with what they would like to see in you. So what is it going to make you a bad person, or because they don't like you, that you can't be happy? So you got to stop seeking happiness in a certain momentary reactions or feeling and emotions that you get in a certain circumstances, and start looking for happiness in the basics of life that you can sustain. But when it's dependent on the behavior of the others, which is dependent on what side of you they're seeing and what event of life you're negotiating with, you can't sustain that. And the same thing goes with you. If you base your happiness on liking someone, let's say, or an event or a person, let's talk about relationships. You base your happiness on someone's behavior towards you in a positive manner, or you base your happiness on a reaction or negotiation of someone's towards an event in life, well, that particular event, the way she handled it, could have met your expectations and your admiration. But maybe there are other circumstances in life that she would not be able to measure up or have a very aware or reasonable reaction or judgment about it. Then you may not like that outcome, which would mean may not like that person in that situation. So you cannot consider what you're happy about someone should sustain. And if she should step out of that and negotiate something else differently, you should now not like her, because there are different reactions based on the condition in our consciousness that makes us to react in different ways, in different circumstances. And so you can't base a image you make out of someone to be the only image they can make out of that someone. And based on that, you will be happy or dissatisfied with that person. So what I'm trying to say is that be happy and satisfied with that particular experience, and don't try to sustain it, because that could be disappointing, because she may decide to react or deal with another situations which would not create a certain complementary image of her in your mind. So look at things compartmentally. She's dealing in a certain way that impresses you, appreciate that. Don't think about now, oh, that's the kind of girl she is forever. No, tomorrow she may have, I don't know, her hand sticking in her nose, and I say, oh, what is that? So just be open to take the joy of the moment and have that based on your happiness, not the sustainment of all these happenings that are joyful at one time or another. Be accepting to the fact that things can change, people can react differently towards you. You may create a different image of them in different circumstances. And these are all okay and not based on a certain conclusion that you should have in order to make a judgment about that person. Today, she was lovely. She made me a nice tea. That's all. Now, trying to sustain what should I do to make her always make me a nice tea, or be so pleasant or so tolerant of my shortcomings or my behavior, or so feminine and soft and understanding? Stop all that bullshit. Stop expectations. When you stop expectations, everything is a beautiful surprise, positive stuff. But when you start focusing on how to sustain it, that's the suffering that takes away your happiness. So take it as a gift and don't worry about it to sustain it. And look for happiness in the basics of life, because those basics of life are always available for you to bring about that happiness that you're trying to sustain. But if you base your happiness on big things, then it'll be hard to find a way to sustain it. In other words, if you think your happiness is based on a promotion or a big house or a new car, that will happen maybe every few years. So you'll be happy once every few years. That's not the way to go. But if you base your happiness on simple, basic things that is available on every moment in life, a cup of tea, it's not too difficult to get it. Breathing. Ah, it's pretty good. I can be happy. A place, safe place to sleep. Not too much noise. I can sleep. Something to eat. Clean to eat. Yeah. Yeah. These are basics. I can use them to create that satisfaction in me, which could fuel me to go and get bigger things, the car, the house, this, that, the relationship, whatever. But take away that expectation, take away that focus on sustaining something, take away of thinking that the image you make out of this woman or whatever it is, situation that you're in, is the only way that could bring you happiness and is the only image that that person is offering. Just enjoy that moment that causes you to create that image. Don't go any further. If tomorrow she's behaving in a certain way that pisses you off or makes you disappointing, then you will have a different image. But you don't worry about the tomorrow and the next image if it's going to be the same as today's or going to be different today. Don't. Focus on this pleasant experience. Don't want to sustain it because that feeling of elation will stay with you. But as soon as you say, oh, what am I going to do if I don't have this tomorrow? You're going to ruin that even short time of that pleasant emotion experience because you bring anxiety and worry and fear of not having this, what you're enjoying, which ruins the whole thing. So, bottom line is, you're creating an image out of people, and according to their behavior, negotiation, experience, and expression of that moment in that life, and don't go any further. Because tomorrow you could have a different image. With the fear of what that image would be, you will ruin today's experience and joy of the image that they were able to help you to create, or you created. They're not responsible for it. You're happy with the images that you make out of people in your own mind. And unless you know them, you can't say this person is like this and that's what made me happy. Because even the reason that you're happy because of the image you made out of them in your mind, it may not be true because that's the image you made out of them. But they may not have been or are the kind of person that you've made an image of. So don't worry about it. That's your inner world, and that's how you saw it. That's the angle you saw them, and stick with that. And tomorrow, if it was the same, great. If it wasn't, then you'll assess it then. You're creating certain kind of an anxiety and fear instead of enjoying the moment that is giving you happiness. You're analyzing too much, expecting certainty, expecting sustaining a certain positive situation. Don't. Is always going to be disappointing because you set a certain standard by saying, oh, that's what I like about her, and that's, I hope she will be like this all the time. And she's a human being. She's going to have ups and downs, and you can't consider that she'll always be that cool and collected and that you'll be impressed by her in the same way you were impressed this moment. So you're sabotaging your own level of happiness and ability to sustain happiness by wanting to sustain happiness. So base it on the basics of life and understand that the image you're making out of people could be different and change tomorrow. And that's the image you make. That's not their reality. For you to get to know them is not through the images that you make about them in your own mind. It's about certain time and interaction with them in a real life to get to know them first and then make a judgment of this person is of my kind or not, or, you know, it's compatible or not. All right. It can go on for another hour or so, but this is one-way discussion, so I don't know if it resonates with you or not. On that note, let's go to subscribe on my channel, visit my channel, and go through the videos that you might be interested in. mindthatseekstruth.com is making it one step away to talk to me one-on-one on Skype and discuss what's concerning you. I'll talk to you soon.